Hey, welcome to Discard. Today I'm going to talk about finding inspiration for your own game room by looking at other people's game rooms, whether that's through photos or videos. I also have a lot of photos and videos from our own community, from viewers of the show. Let's take a look. So first of all, I want to thank all the viewers of Discard for sending in the photos and videos of their own game rooms and game collections. I've had a fantastic time going through them and found lots of inspiration along the way, so I really appreciate that. All the photos and videos that are inside this episode were all from the community, so I really appreciate that. So to start things off, there's a lot of different places that you can find pictures or videos of people's collections nowadays. You can really run into them constantly, whether it's on your favorite social media or Reddit or on YouTube. You can find these all over the place, so there's no lack of that. One of the first things that I start looking at when I look at a photo for the first time is the most important time for me, because that's when I realize if something's going to draw my eye to it. One of my latest videos talks about creating places of interest in your game room or game collection, and that's what I'm really looking for when I'm looking at these photos. I'm looking for that location that draws my eye to it, so I can find that kind of cool idea, or really kind of try to discover why my eye was drawn to an area. In fact, a lot of things that are on Discard can be from that kind of thing. It can be just me looking through a catalog of a non-game related magazine. It could be looking somewhere else that's totally different, but if my eye draws to it, I want to kind of take that and relate it into video games and make it a really cool game room idea. I've noticed while I was going through a lot of the pictures of people's game collections that a lot of people had these lit display cases. The most common place that I found these sold is IKEA, and these are four-sided glass display structures essentially. And you can put your games in them and really display a ton of different things inside of them and be able to see them from any different angle. Now, I personally don't have one of these display cases to mess with and try to display things in, and I've tried to get some people on the show that actually have one of these before, but it's all kind of fallen through. But what I've seen in the past is that these have been placed improperly in rooms, and they kind of end up being too bulky and taking up too much space, while also just not looking right where they're in a location. But if you can see in these photos, for the most part, these are absolutely beautifully placed. One of the people that sent in a photo has them all right next to each other, making this big, beautiful display area for all of the games and different things that they've put into these cases. And it's all really well lit and super pops. So when I saw that my eye was drawing to that, I realized that this was one of those places that was a place of interest for me. And it's not always just the display case itself, it can be the lighting inside of a room that really draws your eye to a certain location. I've noticed a lot of professional people using lighting in very specific manners, not to necessarily light an entire room, but highlight a specific area. And that can do a lot for a game collection to make it really pop, especially if you want a certain location in that game collection to pop. But lighting is a very important thing, and it can really draw your eye to an area, and this is absolutely an example of that. Other things to look for when you're looking through other people's game collections is looking for the way that people angle their games or they display their games. They may have the same games as you, they may have the same items as you, and you can look at them and say, hey, is that a good positioning for the way I'm gonna put my game in my game room? And you can kind of cherry pick the different ideas that you see when you're looking at all of these different collections. I saw a few different collections in these photos that people were holding their games up or had them on angles, and they looked absolutely beautiful, and these were perfect for the scenario that they were in. Maybe not necessarily for everybody that's out there in their own game collection, but these are great examples of how to kind of place your games. And when you're talking about displaying things in your game collection, you want to make sure that if you have a video game display dog, that it's prominently displayed on your couch at the proper angle so that it looks optimally cute. Another huge thing to look for in different people's game collections that can really help people to design and create their own game room is by looking at the size of people's collections and kind of deciding whether that's pretty close to the size of your own collection, and looking at the different things in there that they're doing to kind of manage the space. I've definitely had very small spaces to deal with in the past where I was displaying video games or I had them stored, and it was really hard to find all of the perfect locations to put my games, and I was certainly not displaying them all. So when you're looking at those other rooms, whether they're large or small, you could be looking at all sorts of different things in there that could help these people to display their games in that small space or even store their video games. One of my favorite things about the video game community is that there's all sorts of different artworks out there for video games, and a lot of people use those to kind of fill the void that is your wall space. you don't always necessarily have a shelf that will fill up your entire wall to put your video games in. So a lot of people end up going out and finding art or posters or different things that they can put on their wall to display with. A couple of the different collections that were sent in are absolutely beautiful and use all sorts of different wall art to really light up the space. I personally like a couple of these. There's one that looks like it's perler art of a Pikachu on the wall that's above an Atari, I believe, and it's absolutely beautiful. It really lights up the space. It made me super happy to see this photo in the first place, and I really like that kind of adaptive artwork. One of the other photos that was sent in has a bunch of artwork from the Castlevania series, and this person in particular talked about finding that artwork online and having it professionally printed out for very inexpensive, and then mounting it to wooden boards and having it attached to the wall that way. I think that's a fantastic idea because it really takes a inexpensive pair of products and turns them into a high-grade art piece on your wall. But also, generally speaking, people are looking for all sorts of different poster sizes and picture sizes to fill that specific wall space that they have. So when you're looking around game collections, you could be looking for those different poster sizes specifically within those collections, and then maybe you'll realize that there's a perfectly sized Pokemon poster out there or some sort of cool Sony poster that you really enjoy. But all sorts of different posters are out there that are different sizes, and there's always going to be one that's going to fit your space perfectly. And no matter how much I kind of dig around the idea of storing different things in your game room or game collection, it's definitely one of those things that everyone's going to have to do at some point in time. So there's a lot of really cool ideas in these photos as well about storing different video game items that you may have, whether that's in drawers or in different cabinets, or a nice way to kind of dress them up in different locations. Now, my favorite thing to find in a game room or game collection photo is looking for that idea, that different thing, that outside of the box idea that can help you display different things in your collection that maybe you couldn't display before with standard means. Finding a cool way to display magazines in your collection that maybe you just had on the shelf and you could only see the spines before, but now this new item maybe allow you to see the artwork that's on the front covers of. You could find really cool ways to display your game controllers. A lot of different people have experimented with different ways to display their game room with their controllers and hang them on the walls or put them on different items. And just by looking at other people's collections, you can see these ideas and kind of adopt them as your own. Even ways of maximizing the space in your own console where you have all of your game systems set up. You can find different ways of doing that. Specifically here, you'll see an idea that I had on the show about using inserts in your game collection, and that's really helped me to get all of my consoles into a smaller area. But when it comes to looking for those outside of the box ideas, a lot of them are really good. So you may not necessarily track right onto them. You'll be looking at that place of interest in the game collection, and maybe you'll pass up looking at these really cool ideas that are in there. So take your time and look around these people's collections, because a lot of times there's a really cool container idea or wall mountable idea just standing there right in front of you. And most of the time these items are not standardly used for video games. There's a Zippo shelf in here that is not necessarily meant for Game Boy games, but Zippo shelves work fantastic for video games. They are the perfect size, they light up, and they just look awesome. But in the end, it's kind of hard to say why these game room tours are so magnetic for us, why so many people like to see them and see the photos of other people's collections and items that they've collected over the years. But for the most part, you can look at them in kind of an expert fashion and see all of the different ideas that are in there, the size of the space that people are using, the spacing on the items that they're putting on those shelves, the lighting, all sorts of different things that people use in their game collections to kind of make it all come together to be a kind of a cohesive thing. So I think if we kind of look at it in that light, we can make our own collections really cool looking and even more functional than they are right now. So I want to thank everybody who sent in a photo or video of their own game collection. I had a great time going through those, and they were absolutely imperative to make a video like this. If you find yourself wanting to send in videos or photos of your game collection, please do. Send it in to my email address. I'll leave it down below in the comments section. And I'm going to try to get these videos and photos into more episodes. But thanks for coming and checking out Discart today. What do you look for when you're looking at these photos or videos of other people's collections? Please let me know in the comments below. I always look through all those comments and I will absolutely get back to you. If you want to help out Discart past the subscription, please check out patreon.com/Discart and check out all the awesome stuff you can get for $2 a month. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. But otherwise, have a great day and collect what you love.
heard about summer snow. When it falls on you, your blood runs cold. But don't you sweat your pretty skin, 'cause it melts away for it sinks in. And you dream about this very night, when the moon runs down the summer sky. Could it be the morning of the spring, when the sea runs dry and start to sing? Have you heard from the sky all about it? Down the river, high tide flows around it. Through the whispers of pines, I hear them sing. The more you love, the more you live. Do you ever feel like going back, when nothing seemed to be a drag? You read until your legs gave way, then you cried and got back up again. And it's real to think that I could fly across a broken bridge in the fading light. Never thought ahead of my 2 feet, never had a care in the world, you see. Have you heard from the sky